AMD has quietly given us several strong signals about where its next generation of hardware is heading. And taken together, they point to something the GPU market has been missing for a long time: genuine high-end competition at sane prices. But before we get to graphics cards, there's an important CPU development worth addressing first. For the first time, an AMD Zen 6 processor has been spotted in the wild. A recent shipping manifest lists a chip labeled Medusa 1 with a Z0 stepping. That naming matters. Medusa is AMD's internal code name for its next generation APUs, and Zen 6 is the architecture expected to underpin what will likely be branded as Ryzen 10,000 or possibly Ryzen A branded desktop parts. This tells us two things immediately. First, the chip is almost certainly early silicon intended for validation rather than retail hardware. Second, this is confirmation that AMD's next-generation desktop APUs are now physically real, not just roadmap slides. The manifest also lists a 4C4D configuration, which strongly suggests 4 standard performance cores paired with 4 dense efficiency cores. That hybrid layout lines up with previous leaks, including reporting from the leaker HXL, who mentioned a similar configuration as early as mid-2025. HXL also referenced additional low-power cores, which may simply not have been fully enumerated in the shipping documentation. The chip is listed at 28 watts, reinforcing that this is an APU class part, rather than a traditional desktop CPU. Interestingly, earlier leaks also pointed to an integrated GPU featuring 8 compute units based on RDNA 3.5 or a derivative of it. If accurate, that would mean AMD is still not moving its APUs to RDNA 4, which is disappointing, but not entirely unexpected. Still, the important takeaway here is timing. Zen 6-based desktop APUs are no longer theoretical. They are entering the validation pipeline. That brings us to desktop APUs more broadly, because AMD appears to be preparing its most significant upgrade in this category in years. At the moment, AMD's top desktop APU is the Ryzen 8700G. When it launched, it was respectable. 8 Zen 4 cores, 16 threads, and an RDNA 3 integrated GPU with 12 compute units. But that chip is now 2 years old and the market has moved on. The next step appears to be the Ryzen AI 400 series for desktops. One of the chips expected in this family is the Ryzen AI 9HX 475. While this is not yet confirmed for desktop, multiple signals suggest that this architecture is coming to the AM5 platform. This chip is expected to feature 12 cores and 24 threads, though notably not all of those cores are equal. 4 are full Zen 5 cores, while 8 are Zen 5C efficiency cores. Peak boost clocks are reported at up to 5.2 GHz on the performance cores. The bigger improvement, however, is on the graphics side. The integrated GPU is expected to feature 16 compute units, up from 12 on the 8700G. That alone represents a 33% increase in raw compute capacity. On top of that, the GPU is clocked roughly 200 MHz higher than the previous generation. For context, the Radeon 890M already outperformed the older 780MM by roughly 20 to 25%. Adding more compute units and higher clocks on top of that suggests a meaningful leap in integrated graphics performance. There's also a substantial increase in AI acceleration. The 8700G offers 16 TOPS of AI performance. The new chip reportedly delivers 60. While AI acceleration is not yet a major selling point for most desktop users, this level of performance is what enables Microsoft's Copilot+ certification. That matters because recent CES presentations from both Lenovo and AMD strongly suggest that Ryzen AI 400 chips will be the first Copilot Plus certified desktop processors. Importantly, slides from AMD indicate that this will not be limited to Pro-branded SKUs, meaning consumer versions are almost certainly coming. The naming is unfortunate, but the hardware itself represents a long-overdue upgrade for desktop APUs. Now, shifting from CPUs to GPUs, there's another interesting development. AMD may be reconsidering how strictly it limits new software features to new hardware. During a recent interview, AMD's Senior Vice President of GPU Technologies was asked whether a version of FSR Redstone could be made available for RDNA 3 graphics cards. His response was cautious but telling. While such support is not currently planned, he explicitly stated that AMD might consider providing a prototype or experimental version for users willing to test it. That's significant because one of the primary reasons FSR Redstone is officially limited to RDNA4 and newer GPUs is hardware support for optimized FP8 compute. RDNA3 cards lack that capability, but they do support INT8, which modders have already used to enable FSR4 functionality through unofficial means. The trade-off is performance. INT8 implementations are less efficient than FP8, which likely explains why AMD has not released an official version for older cards. Still, even with a performance penalty, the feature can deliver tangible benefits, and an official beta would be preferable to unofficial mods. At the very least, this suggests AMD is aware of demand from existing users and is not dismissing the idea outright. Finally, we come to the most consequential development of all: pricing for AMD's upcoming RX 10000 series GPUs. According to multiple leaks, AMD is preparing to undercut Nvidia across the stack, including in segments where Nvidia has effectively enjoyed monopoly pricing. The most striking claim is that AMD intends to compete not just with Nvidia's 60-class cards, but potentially even with the next flagship tier. This would be a major shift. For several generations now, Nvidia has owned the ultra-high-end gaming GPU market outright, which has allowed it to set prices largely without competitive pressure. If you want the fastest gaming card available, Nvidia has been the only option. That may finally change. Part of the reason this is possible is architectural. AMD's next-generation GPUs are expected to deliver a substantial improvement in ray tracing performance, an area where AMD has historically lagged. This improvement is reportedly linked to Project Amethyst, a joint effort between AMD and Sony that is expected to influence both future PlayStation hardware and AMD's next-generation GPUs. Strategically, AMD also appears to be playing the timing game carefully. Well-known leaker Kepler has stated that AMD will not launch its next-generation GPUs before Nvidia announces its own. The reason is simple: Nvidia's margins are large enough that it can respond to early competition with aggressive price cuts. By waiting for Nvidia to announce first, AMD can price its cards just below Nvidia's offerings, forcing Nvidia to either accept lower market share or revise prices after launch, something it historically avoids. AMD has used this strategy successfully in the mid-range before. If it can apply the same pressure at the high end, the result could be the first real pricing correction the enthusiast GPU market has seen in years. None of this is guaranteed, but the direction is clear. AMD is positioning itself not just as a value alternative, but as a credible competitor across the entire stack. If that holds, the RX 10000 series could be one of the most important GPU launches in a decade.